favorite F1 race, and asked a couple of other questions, and you guys went like WEC and shit, and I was like,
No, I didn't.
Nah, I didn't go WEC.
I thought it was implied that it was all Formula One, but anyway.
One of them was supercars, one of them was Indy cars, one of them was F1, I'm sure.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was. I'll take
Anyway,
that.
let's
I
go.
apologize.
Episode 47, guys. Racing Line Podcast. Special guest. Not even a guest anymore. He's probably an extension of the Racing Line pod. We can call him an extension of the podcast now. Tristan Ellery back with us.
Yeah,
We don't,
thanks.
we don't
boys.
need Michael anymore.
No, that's it. Welcome
Nah,
back,
thanks for
mate.
having me back, boys. I feel like I'm starting to become part of the furniture, which is really cool.
Yeah,
Let's
it's awesome.
go.
It's good to have a bit more opinion. And today's, like we just said, it's going to be a little bit of a looser podcast, not a whole lot of racing to talk about. It felt a bit weird on Sunday night to just like
Yeah,
There was
go about
literally
your
nothing.
business with nothing to like look forward to.
I have
Um,
no
well,
idea
I
what to
was
do.
pretty bored. I think I just went to bed.
do you watch football, Tristan?
Yeah, I watched like AFL and rugby, but I mean, I went to a game on Saturday, and that's about
It's not
all
the
the
same.
AFL I could. Yeah.
I know where you're going with this, and don't
Oh,
start.
okay. Here we go. He was going to say football with soccer, right?
Yeah. I just want to
Yeah,
say, like,
nah.
you can watch the replay on Optus Sport of
Nah.
Brentford's demolition of Manchester United on Saturday night. That was,
Oh, I don't watch that football. Sorry.
mate. You might want to. It's like IndyCar. You
Yeah,
just need
I
to get into
I
it.
still
It's-
need to just get into it.
All right, let's jump straight into it then, boys. Loose podcast. A few different talking points. Some questions from all over the place. One from our burner account, from Harry's personal burner account. So let's jump straight into it. Joey.
We have fans,
Harry.
boys. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the podcast with us.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Let's jump straight into it, Harry.
Yep. So, first question was posted on our Discord server, which was our favorite racing car / bike in history and currently. So that
Got
was
two.
from Bull Turtle.
Oh man, I know this answer. I did like a Facebook post like probably 5 years ago when someone asked me this question, and it was like, "What's your favorite race car?" And I put up 5 of them. So in no particular order, it was the Jeff Gordon NASCAR,
The
24.
DuPont one.
Yeah, the DuPont one.
Yeah.
I think it was probably Fernando Alonso's Ferrari. I think 2012, because that like the car, the sound, the livery, obviously Fernando Alonso. I had probably a bit biased, but one of my dad's supercars, super cheap auto 2003 car, was just like on point.
Is that the purple, yellow, and red
Yeah,
one?
yeah,
One
the
that
purple one.
Mustard did a replica on?
Yeah, they did it. Yeah, he did a replica, I think.
Yeah,
in
that's a hot car.
2016 or something. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, but and then there was the Nissan GTR, which was the Nismo Academy one that went around a few years ago, like the black and red with the grey trim on it. Those are probably-
GT3?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
okay.
are probably my 4 favorites.
We need to get some photos on the socials of that. I
Yeah,
like those.
I can probably dig them up, but
Yep.
Harry.
My favorite. So I picked the 2. My favorite livery car of all time is the McLaren MP44, the Senna Prost.
Mm.
That's probably my favorite racing car of all time. Second
cracking up.
is probably me. Yeah, I don't know what it is. So my second favorite is probably the Renault from Fernando Alonso, 2005, 2006. There's just
that one
something
was
about that
pretty
car.
sick. That one was pretty sick.
Yeah,
Can't beat it.
so they're my 2.
Joey. You're on mute, dude.
He's unmuted.
And now you're invisible. This is why we have no fans. But while we wait for Joey,
I'll cut
I'll-
this.
I'm back.
throw-
I'm back. Sorry.
all right,
Sorry.
throw us.
So my favorite livery of all time is the I think what did I write? 1997 Jordan. I have to
Benson
be
Hedges.
specific. I have to be specific though, because the different years have different animals, and the different animals are important to which one I like the most. So it was the 1997 Jordan, which is
Yeah.
the yellow and black Benson hedges with the Viper snake
Yeah.
front, not the Hornet front, which I also like, but just not as much. I mean,
That is a tidy car.
wild colors.
Which one
like
is it?
that.
I want to look it up.
1997.
You can't see it from my camera.
Benson and Hedges.
1997 Jordan F1. I mean, that's a tidy
Oh, yeah.
car.
The
colours,
yellow and black one.
Yeah, the colors are phenomenal, and then just the little Viper on the front, I just think makes it distinct and also gives it a bit of personality.
Did Ralph
and
Schumacher drive that one?
Yeah,
he drove the Hornet one. I don't know if he drove that one. I think that was
Was
Frentzen.
Sorry, was 97 or 98 the year that Frentzen was in with the shout for the championship?
I think he was 99. I think he was 99. He was a bit later, or maybe even 2000. It was a bit
That's a sexy
later.
car, Joe.
That's a pretty cool car.
That's a good pick.
I mean, I'm good with all the liveries, so like I think I would choose a good one. And then I also had the 2006 HRT, and the reason I had the 2006 HRT is because HRT is like the only racing team that really you told the car not through its sponsorship but by its actual design on the car with the man and the line, you know, on there together. Like no car really in any other sport has had like its own branding that was pretty much this like the main sponsor on the car.
Was that Scape's era or was that after?
Yeah, it was definitely
Scape's
Scape's
last
era,
year, I think 2006.
I think he had one more with the black line on the side, which is 2007, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I love that car. And then I also had a bike, which was the Kevin Schwantz Lucky Strike Suzuki. And I don't remember that being on the track because I was only like 3 when that was out. But I think that's just a sexy bike.
So you've hit on all 3 of those liveries.
I know I have.
They're bangers.
I'm a lord of the liveries.
Do you know what else? But I reckon you could even throw in the bloody 2006 HDT livery, which is like in the background behind it. No, it's obviously not. But that was still a sexy. The orange and black was still pretty good looking too.
2006 HDT.
HSV
driver team. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was Tander and Kelly.
With Kelly. Could have been the year with Kelly won. Well,
he did win that actually.
I went with my classic favorite car of all time. It has to be the Mazda 787B that won Le Mans, the rotary entry.
Yeah, that thing was sick.
That Johnny Herbert won in half because it looks amazing, also because it sounds like an absolute weapon.
Sounds like a banshee.
And it was so good that they had to ban rotaries from Le Mans. So that was
Can I say something quickly before you keep going? They banned them before they won, so they knew they were banning them.
But they banned them the year that they won.
Yeah, but they only won because they put in a lot of effort into winning it with their rotary before they banned it. You can't confuse the two things. They didn't win and then they banned it. They were banning it, so then they thought we need to win.
Look, as someone who's owned a rotary, I'm surprised the thing lasted to 24 hours.
Dude, that's the biggest sort of conundrum of it all. The Apex Seals survived. Those things shouldn't last 24 hours.
No way.
Yeah,
but beautiful car.
Yeah. So that was my historic car. And then, I don't know if any of you have seen this, but the Manti Racing yellow and green Grello Porsche that races at the Nürburgring 24. It's like a day-glow fluoro yellow, fluoro green mixed together. We'll chuck some photos up on it on the socials as well. But going around the green hell, it looks like an absolute thunderbolt. So that's my current favorite car of all time. Between all of those cars, though, I have to say we've got a good mix of current and classic liveries to put up on the socials, boys. So that might be.
I agree. I reckon they're all like. There's a couple that I didn't even think of, but
you could probably do a whole podcast about liveries.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm going to stay true to my Jeff Gordon, the iconic 24 G4 one, but I think that's. Oh, the other one was I didn't mention it before. It just came to me now. The classic yellow and blue Subaru WRX.
Yes, that's very.
I think it was
true.
Colin McRae's.
Yeah, Colin McRae. Yeah, that's so true.
That one
pretty
was
much
like
what a
the
cool
best. One of the
reason
best.
why I wanted
You're
a
thinking
Rexy my
outside the
whole
box,
life.
mate.
Exactly. So that's my picks for anyone out there that loved those cars through that era.
I was actually going to choose, but I think because it was a one-off, it wasn't really like it's a bit too niche. Your dad's super cheap car that
Joe, you were You bounced out when we spoke.
Yeah, I said I might be a little bit biased, but that's in my top 5.
Yeah, you bounced out, Joe.
Sorry, guys.
Of the current cars around, just quickly.
Yeah,
current cars around. Yeah,
I'd probably go the Ferrari, and the only reason why is because the Mansell Ferrari back in the early 90s was one of my favorites as well, and they're very similar. The color, just the tinge, it's all red.
That Grello car that I spoke about is a current car.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like F1 teams, their liveries at the moment are very forgettable.
Black.
Probably because we're in the moment and we're not looking back.
The Red Bull's iconic already.
There's no nostalgia to them yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at it, like we mentioned some pretty iconic liveries before. If you're looking back on a course of history, the Mercedes isn't going to be on there
because it's always
your
silver
top 5
or black.
Nah, it's not going to be on there. So it's like the designs at the moment are just so boring and bland. Like there's no excitement to them.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably because they're so commercialized. If you look at like even the McLaren, have a good look at Harry's background, and you'll see like.
Interesting.
Can I say that McLaren has not grown on me this year?
No, it hasn't for me
Especially
either.
because the sponsorship always changes on the side of it. I just look at it every week and I'm like,
you know what I can't get over? The Google rims, because it looks like a lolly. It looks like a bloody lollipop color.
I liked it when it first got released, and then I don't know, it's actually gone the opposite.
It's forgettable. It's probably because
it was good for a week, and then it was like, all right, you've made your point.
But all those cars we just mentioned are pretty synonymous with success. So like the
great.
HRT very successful. The Subaru at the time very successful. Jeff Gordon at that time, sort of king of the sport.
I think we'll look back on the Red Bull livery though.
Yeah. I was going to say the Red Bull. Well, I was going to say actually the supercar Red Bull livery. I actually think that's really clean, but that hasn't changed for like 8 years though. So
yeah,
it actually has. If you think of it, it just changes very slowly over every year.
They add a red line into it.
Red line, get a bit more white.
You can't talk about bloody Red Bull and the supercars if you're going to bring up DJR, because that livery has not changed.
True, actually, yeah, good
years.
point. It's iconic though. It is iconic.
Yeah.
My brother goes to Dick Johnson Racing, and every year I go, yo, Tom, do you want to do a bet that the livery won't change this year? I'll give you $50. And he never falls for it because he knows that it's not going to change.
Do you know what could have been in this iconic livery, chat? The old John Bow /
the Aussie Mail.
Dick Johnson.
The Aussie Mail one?
No, the old Dick Johnson racing car. The yellow
Helix ones.
Yeah, the Shell Helix back when it was yellow, blue, and red.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
Hey, I finally found the post of all my cars.
All there?
Yeah, I've legit just been like scrolling, holding my hand down on the key since we started talking.
Harry,
yes.
So we've got a bit of content to post up this week then on the livery front.
Mm-hmm.
What was our other?
So I think this one was a bit more straightforward. It's what track that's currently not on the Formula One calendar do we want to see mostly?
Who posted this question? Sorry.
It was someone on Instagram. I didn't save the screenshot. I just remembered
Shout out to you. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. I'll start off. I like Sepang. I wish that could come back.
Sepang is actually a great track. It is sad that it's not there anymore because it is a really good track, I suppose. I did the Adelaide street circuit, and the reason I said this was because I think as a track, it'd probably be more interesting to watch F1 on that track than on the Melbourne Parkland circuit at the moment, just because I feel like the 90-degree corners would be really conducive to some good passing and overtakes. I mean, it's never going to really happen, but if I could dream, I'd say probably that track in terms of Australian tracks being swapped out.
Some iconic moments on that track too. You think the Damon Hill and Schumacher incident.
Yeah, even the my dad used to have this poster in our games room of the Adelaide downpour. And what year was that?
93.
And like the conditions, like when even in the pictures, it looks so bad for like a concrete jungle. Like the drivers back then were real gladiators, having to wrestle those things through the streets.
Well, it's everything that we talk about whenever we talk about good tracks conducive to good racing. It's like unmanicured, it's bouncy, it's rough. There's carnage on at the end of a lot of the corners as well. So
like Jeddah.
Yeah, it's not. So it would be an awesome. Yeah, I like that pick, Joe.
I'm on fire today.
Yeah, you're really doing a good job.
Yeah, he's done his research.
This used to be a track on the Formula One circuit about in the 90s. Okayama, back then it used to be called Aida, and they still race super formula around the track. But if you were to look at the track layout, you've got a lot of straights, you've got a few chicanes, but you're moving, from really fast sections of track into some really slow sections as well, which I think would be really good for, overtaking maneuvers. And it's also built around like a very scenic mountain range. So for me, it's got to be Okayama. And if
I have a question for you about this though.
Yeah.
Would you prefer this track over Suzuka?
Okayama?
Yeah. Because I feel like if you wouldn't prefer it over Suzuka, it's just a bit of a knowledge flex that such an obscure track. Like that's what I thought when I read that. I was like, is it better than Suzuka?
If we can have 3 American tracks, we can have 2 Japanese tracks.
No, but we shouldn't have 2 Japanese tracks.
No, they're not. They're not doing 2 Japanese tracks. But
you didn't answer my question. Is it better than Suzuka? Because you're really the Suzuka simp as it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's not. Suzuki is a better track.
Suzuka's an amazing track.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never liked Suzuka. Even when I played it on like F1, whatever it is, it's like I've always struggled. It's always been my worst track. And maybe that's why I don't like it.
I hate the last chicane. That's what I hate.
It's just so fast. I can never figure it out. You have to think too much.
It's a racist track.
Yeah, I know. That's me screwed then.
Anthony only likes the difficult tracks because he feels like he has the talent that will elevate himself above everyone else if he was there.
Yeah.
So his favorite tracks are like Monaco,
Suzuka, that's me. Baku, Monaco, Singapore.
Rubbish like that.
Perfect. Joe, but anything that's fast like Suzuka, nah.
These are unfounded claims that you're making, Joe. Have you had a look at the layout?
Of what?
Of Okayama?
No, but I said, is it better than Suzuka? You're the expert.
I haven't seen a track in years, so I should probably look it up.
It doesn't have to be better, Joe. It just has to be
Okayama. Yeah.
I like Fuji more than Suzuka if you wanted to add a track onto there.
Fuji's not as good as Suzuka.
Fuji would be pretty sick.
There's a beautiful mountain there that has snow on the top. And it's like one of the most scenic places.
Scenery's amazing. I'll give you that. Scenery's amazing. But
that is a pretty cool track, that Okayama track.
The layout's awesome. I reckon if you had F1 cars going around there, there's some good racing that can happen there.
It's a bit like Hungary with that back section over there. It goes
bit of a kart track, like a kart vibe to it.
I kind of like that. I was going to say my pick would have been, there was actually 2. There was one, I think it was New Delhi. They had a pretty cool racetrack.
Yeah.
They had like a really cool racetrack. I remember playing it on like a F1 2012 or something. And it was just like the coolest track. There was another one as well. I think it was South Korea.
Oh, South Korea, I didn't really like.
I don't remember it too well, but I just remember I always loved that track. And I was like, one day went off the map and calendar.
I'm not gonna lie, I always enjoyed racing I think it's called the Bud. Might be the Bud. I think it could be the Bud circuit or something like that. But
in New Delhi.
Yeah. I really liked that Indian track, to be honest with you. It was like the India one and Turkey were 2 obscure tracks that I really enjoyed racing at. But
I had that really cool last corner coming onto the front straight, and it was like a short pit lane as well.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I like that point.
This time next year, we'll probably be putting Spa on the list.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Imagine
true.
that.
You know what? That is a better track than Suzuka.
What is?
That Okayama.
I actually agree.
Can you take it back?
But Honda owns Suzuka, don't they? So that's never going to happen.
Yeah, Honda's.
They probably do, yeah.
Joe, can you take it back?
What?
Your negativity.
So, what do they race there? They race GT there, do they?
They race Super Formula.
Asian GT.
Yeah, Asian GT.
Asian GT. I see
Super
that there.
GT as well.
That's a really cool track.
Japanese superbikes. They race a lot of things there. It's just nothing that's mainstream. But they used to race F1 there, so it's obviously got to have some level of like racing pedigree for it to be racing there.
Looking at all the liveries that we were looking at during the research of this, one thing I noticed, even up to when I looked at, mid 2000s, 2010s, the cars were so much smaller and they just looked so much quicker.
In F1.
Yeah.
On everything, really.
Yeah.
Even in supercars, the touring cars, it's like they look
that's true,
tiny compared to what they are now. They're like double the size almost.
Do you know what's crazy? A current Formula One car is bigger, dimensions-wise, than a Le Mans prototype. And if you were to look at them on TV, you would think that the Le Mans prototype would be significantly larger. But an F1 car is bigger than an endurance prototype, which is crazy.
They're a big car, though.
That blows my mind
these days.
Well, they wonder why it's hard for overtaking to take place and why there's so much aero effect. It's because they're driving stale, at hundreds of kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Another good talking point, boys. Well done. I think we came to a bit of a consensus in two of those points. So that's good. Good vibes.
Thanks, Mr. Barja.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, mate. Joseph.
Yo.
Talking points from the week of racing.
I had one about Remy Gardner, which I found interesting, humorous, and somewhat puzzling. So like it's a mix of everything, because at first I thought, makes sense. And then I thought about it and I go, no, it doesn't. So they were talking to the head of KTM about the seat selection for next year, because two of the seats have been pretty much confirmed, which is Jack Miller and Brad Binder at Red Bull KTM. And then they were saying the two Tech 3 seats haven't been confirmed yet. We've got one that we're sort of sure of and one that we're not sure of.
Who's sort of sure?
I think they were hinting that was Paul Espargaro going back.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right? No, Fernandez is... so Raul Fernandez isn't there next year. He's not at KTM next year. He's going to Aprilia. So that's pretty much known. And then they were saying, we want to bring in our talent from from our feeder teams from Moto 2. And that was implying that Augusto Fernandez was coming up because he's leading the championship, right? And at first I thought, yeah, he's leading Moto 2. If he wins Moto 2, then that would make sense. And then I thought, but Augustin Fernandez is literally the exact thing that Remy Gardner was the year before last. You know what I mean? It's not like he's come up through Moto 3 with KTM and has an allegiance to him. He's literally ridden for Pons and then for one or two seasons.
And
then he
VDS.
rode for Mark VDS for 1 or 2 seasons, and then he's only gone to KTM now to win the season pretty much. And then I thought, I wonder how old he is compared to Remy Gardner, and he's exactly the same age. So implying that the only reason that Remy would be losing his seat was because they were trying to promote some kind of loyalty to their feeder system. It just made no sense to me, considering that if you look at the probably the only rider who's really come up through their feeder system at the moment is Raul, who's not even going to be there, and Oliveira, he's not going to be there next year. I just thought it was a real weird sort of comment to make if the driver that they're looking to promote hasn't really been in the system anyway. It's only been there for half a year. So what do you think about that?
Well, two things. First question, do you think that based on how he's performed this season, that Remy Gardner has done enough to make it an easy decision for them to keep him?
No, but I think he's done enough to keep himself there for another year. It's not like the other two KTM bikes are winning races and challenging in the top 5 without people crashing or they're finishing consistently, but consistently at the back of the leading pack. It's not like the bike's amazing.
This is the thing that I think with KTM right now. They obviously, up to this point, with the exception of Paul Espargaro, everyone they've brought into their team has been through their developmental system, and it's kind of the riders have grown as the team's grown. And I think what KTM are at a point now is obviously the bike has taken a step back that kind of needs to be regained. But I think they're kind of at a point where they see that Yamaha isn't as much of a world beater as they might have been in the past. They're seeing Aprilia and the jump that they've made with an experienced rider like Aleix, Obviously, Aprilia has got Maverick as well, who's an experienced rider. And I think from their point of view, if you look at them bringing Jack Miller in, if you look at them, obviously Brad Binder was a junior, but he's, a well-established rider, race winner now, who's ready to take the next step, I think. I think they're probably at a point where they want a little bit more of a rider that can come in straight away and be competitive, as opposed to giving someone 1, 2, 3 years to grow and develop. Because when I look at Remy Gardner, and it's through no fault of his own because he's still learning his craft, I think it looks like a very similar story to that of Lecuona. The bigger thing that I think works for Gardner, though, is if Yamaha was smart, all of this young talent that people are throwing away, they should be lapping up, because they have got literally no kind of future direction with younger riders. So there's a lot of young riders.
They've got no seats.
Yamaha.
They've got no seats. They've got 2 seats. They're not having a satellite team next year.
Aren't they?
No.
But at the start of the season...
That throws my idea out of the bloody water, doesn't it?
At the start of the season, I asked you, both of you, what does Remy need to do?
Yeah.
And I remember I said...
Beat his teammate and stay on the bike.
Yeah. And he's literally done that. And then you look at it and I was like, I know that Fernandez had a few good results at the end of last year, but then I looked back at his results. He got no wins last year. He finished behind all the riders who came up into MotoGP this year. So that's Gardner, Fernandez, Gianantonio, Bezzecchi. So all like these guys who
he's the best by default.
He's winning now because all those guys have moved up. And then you think about last year, the Mark VDS bike with Sam Lowes was the 3rd best bike, and it was a really good bike to be on. So for him to be that far behind, I was like, I don't feel like making that decision just because he was to win the championship this year against guys who never have really got into MotoGP because they've always been too inconsistent would be a stretch to sort of throw Remy out, considering that now this whole year would then become a waste of time because you probably have the same problem next year when you bring a new rookie onto the bike.
What do you think, Tristan?
I'm honestly not the best person to probably talk about MotoGP. I don't watch it as much as I need to. I did sort of follow Remy's career a little bit when he was on... Was it the KTM that he was on?
Yeah, so he was on the KTM last year.
Yeah, I did watch him last year, and obviously, like, my dad grew up watching his old man, and he's a big fan of Remy's. So I sort of know a little bit about what's going on. I know that there's limited seats, but I hope that he gets on one, and I hope he lands one, because I think he's talented enough to, do something half decent on that bike or a bike. But I just don't watch it closely enough to really have a strong comment on it, though. So,
Joe, where do you think he ends up?
Well, he's always been a slow learner. Like, he's always taken his time to sort of understand the bike, and he's always taken a couple of years to come good. But when he comes good, he comes good.
Could he? Can I be devil's advocate for a second?
Yeah.
Because you said that Fernandez obviously wasn't doing a whole lot on the Mark VDS bike last year, and now he's doing well, particularly or partly because all the competition from last year is gone. He's also now on the best bike. Could we have? Because if you think about Remy Gardner's career before KTM, there were moments of really good performances, but there were definite moments of obscurity as well, and kind of droughts in relation to good performances. So could his championship season last year be being on the best bike might have made him seem, I don't want to say more competent, because he's obviously competent, but it might have made him look better than he actually was.
No, I think last year on that that KTM bike showed how good he actually is, because he was in a Moto2 grid that has probably been one of the most talented that we've seen in a long time in terms of how many guys were ready to sort of go for that championship. When you look at like how good Bezzecchi's jumped into MotoGP, how good, I mean, the worst guy on that grid in terms of jumping into MotoGP has been his teammate, which has been Raul Fernandez. So
who probably looked like he had the most raw talent last year.
Well, he never wanted to. The thing is, he never wanted to leave Moto2 this year. He was sort of forced into that seat, and that's why he's left KTM, because he feels like they've jeopardized his career by moving him forward. So, I mean, the only thing I have to say is, it's like, if your argument is based off wanting to bring in your own talent, that's fine. Like, who's been with you for a long time, like you owe a loyalty, like how Binder was and Oliveira was. But then you look at sort of Pedro Acosta, who's the only guy KTM really have in that position, and he's nowhere near ready to go into MotoGP. So I feel like it's an argument that they're saying just for the sake of it. Whereas like Fernandez and Gardner are pretty much carbon copies of each other, and Gardner's just got an extra year of MotoGP experience. Like,
is there any chance that he ends up on a Honda?
Who? Gardner?
Is there a second LCR seat still up for grabs with Rins?
Yeah, but I think they're saying that's going to go to Ayagura.
No, he's not ready.
Well, but he's coming second in the championship, and they need to have that Japanese rider on the Idemitsu bike.
Do you think
they can put an Australasian instead of an Asian?
No, they want that. It's that team is paid for by Honda Asia.
Yeah. I know.
Do you think having such a consistent season with no spectacular moments, no like highs and troughs, has been a detriment for him? Like, he hasn't really been.
It has, but he hasn't got a bike that can give him the highs. Yeah. The highs of that bike is coming sixth and then winning in the rain for the best riders. Like, it's not a Ducati. Well, it's like understanding where you are is important.
Well, so from his point of view, then is he young enough to, let's say, for example, there isn't a competitive. Is he young enough to move to World Superbikes, dominate, and then move back into MotoGP if a seat becomes available? Would that be a more?
No, I think if you go into World Superbikes, I don't think there's any coming back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, isn't that sort of like a slippery slope where you sort of just end up getting stuck in World Superbikes?
The only guy I can see coming back or coming out of World Superbikes is Lecuona coming into Honda, because ever since he's gone there, he's actually looked super consistent. And then, like, he just won the Suzuka 8 Hour.
Yeah,
and he looks like it looks like he's matured enough that he's staying on the bike.
Well, that kind of proves the point that these young KTM riders are getting burnt.
Yeah, but the reason I'm saying that is because Honda has no real academy at the moment to bring riders through. But you look at like Ducati, there's no way you're coming back into Ducati, and KTM don't really have a team to go into there. So unless he was to go into Honda, which has confirmed its lineup for next year in World Superbikes, like, maybe he'd probably go back down to Moto2 for a year, win it again, and then try and come back up. But I don't know. I think you'd have to just get stuck in the doldrums of World Superbikes.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what happened to Nicky Hayden? He went World Superbikes and then he just never found his way back to MotoGP.
Yeah.
He was a little bit older and he was a little bit more long in the tooth than Remy.
I mean, the thing about Remy is that he's Australian and we've already got Jack Miller in the sport. So, like, having said that, you don't need another Spanish. There's a half a dozen of them, just like the Italians.
Aren't they calling it the Spanish Mafia? I read an article about it the other day.
Yeah, the other thing, like, it's probably a very similar story to Formula One right now, where
of course,
MotoGP's kind of in the last couple of years has got very much younger. When you're thinking about like Marc Marquez being the older statesman of the grid now,
28.
And he's
28.
Yeah.
Serious. Wow. He's won 4 world championships, hasn't he?
No, he's won 7.
He's won 7. Oh my god!
Well, the
that's
Premier
how much
class?
I know about it.
Oh, 5
I thought he won 2
in the Premier class.
Yeah, I call MotoGP like world championship. But yeah, that's right. That's how they do it. They do Moto3 and Moto2 as world champions, don't they?
That's all of them. Yeah.
That's how F1 should be, though.
That's how F1 should be.
100%. If you win the F3 world championship, you should be the world champion.
Still the best in class, right? Yeah, I agree. But I think it's like MotoGP right now has got really young, so people aren't leaving the sport anytime soon because they've got years left to go.
That's good though. That's cool. That's cool for the sport.
Well, I think what's going to happen is we're going to see with all this young talent though. you're going to have shorter contracts
Mm.
because there's going to be, a situation where you don't know when the next young superstar's coming in, and you don't want to be locked in for too long with someone who's technically not long in the tooth, but might not be kind of what you need. But in relation to how that affects Remy, it might just mean that there's just too much young talent, and a lot of it's been locked in, and he's probably just in a situation where he's at the wrong team at the wrong time, and a lot of the other manufacturers around him have got long-term plans for a lot of their young riders. So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
I think when KTM sit down and actually have to like pull the gun on a decision, like actually make a decision, I would be genuinely surprised if they got rid of him. Because if you think about like what kind of character he is, like there is nothing that he's shown, like even through this sort of tumultuous bit of period where his contract's been up in the air for most of the season, like where you would be like, that guy has made like a problem for us or embarrassed us kind of thing. Like when you look at how Fernandez has handled it, he's sort of been a bit like a spoilt brat and thrown his sort of toys out of the cot, and he was the darling of KTM. I feel like if you look at how Gardner has progressed through the year, he's gotten closer to the front, hasn't crashed, and also has acted like a professional, which is definitely something that he's probably learned from his dad, or his dad said, "Oi, like this is how you behave." So I think I would be genuinely surprised if they did get rid of him. I mean, if anything, I'd just say Pole's had his time. Move on from Pole.
Yeah.
But that's
good point.
Say on the.
Yeah, well, he's probably
point.
one of the older statesmen now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right. Bit more news from Supercar World today, and I might need to get a bit of your thoughts on this as well, Joe, because I didn't really read the article, but I saw that DJR has got a new majority shareholder as of this afternoon. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they've been bought into by the group that owns the Melbourne Storm and the Melbourne netball team. I can't remember what they're called, but I just thought it was interesting story since Dick Johnson has sort of, not Dick Johnson, since Penske has sort of come in, done its thing and gone out. Injection of someone's capital into a team is always a good, number one, good for the strength of one of the sport's biggest teams, and also probably a signal of intent that they're probably trying to aim up again for another championship run rather than playing second fiddle to Triple Eight. And I just wanted to know what you guys thought about that, because I thought it was just good for the sport.
I quickly read that article. I didn't read all of it, but I did see it. It's quite bizarre that they've opted to sort of, I guess, not sell out. Well, probably sell out, but considering that they just recently opted to give Ryan Story majority shareholder of DJR. So it's quite bizarre that it's all happening again, sort of in that 360, like how it's, with the Penske thing, and now with obviously that Melbourne side of it coming into it. But I mean, I guess at the end of the day, more money for them to go racing with is better for them and better for the sport. So I don't see really too many negatives, apart from the fact that probably Dick is, I'd say, getting pushed out a little bit.
That was going to be my question. What role does he play moving forward with this?
I hope a big one. Well, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he doesn't want. I don't know necessarily. I know the Johnson
Dick's not
family
getting any younger. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I know, obviously, like, Steve's doing his thing with his motorsport. I think he's doing, or he was doing, like the Porsche driving standards advisor, and he's always racing away. Obviously, Jet's coming through the ranks, and I don't know, maybe Dick just wants to enjoy his life and retire. I think he's given so much to the sport that he doesn't owe it anymore, and maybe it's time that he started enjoying what he's created for him and his family. He's still a household name, and so are the Johnsons in the sport. So hopefully that, if whatever happens with this new, sale, that he's still very much, respected amongst the grid. And
well, you think about supercar, like Australian touring cars, V8 supercars, whatever iteration it is. You've got Peter Brock, and Dick Johnson.
Yeah.
They're pretty much the two biggest names, I think,
100%. And
in
then
the sport. So
And
and then
Skate.
probably I'd say, well, you probably got Moffat and
Lowndes, maybe.
maybe like Bondi, old Bondi, and probably then you get into the new era of like Lowndesy and Scafie and Russell Ingall. But yeah, like I said, you know, the name Johnson's been in this sport for a very long time.
You
So
think
I hope it stays as DJR regardless of who buys it or who owns it, because like I said, it means a lot to our sport that he's a part of it.
Do you think that maybe seeing the transition of Roland Dane from kind of being the head of Triple Eight to even selling out majority of his team as well, kind of might have gave DJR a little bit of, you know, courage to see, you know, even if we do lose majority ownership, the team's going to still function the way it is. And even, you know, who knows, maybe Dick does want to take a bit more of a back seat, but was worried that if he kind of lost the team, it wasn't going to have the same success. And kind of looking at what's happened with Triple Eight this year, they've kind of just kept going the way that they're going. Might have just been the kind of reassurance that he needed to know that, you know, moving forward, the chips are in place for them to still be a successful team and ensure that the legacy that he's created kind of doesn't kind of
100%. I
I
think probably would have something to do with it, maybe behind the scenes. But I mean, the Roland Dane thing, I mean, everyone thinks that he's stepped away. In my opinion, I think he's still just as much, you know, on the loop on the phone behind the scenes. It's still, I feel like a guy like that would find it very hard to give up control, especially overnight.
Yeah.
You know, obviously what Jamie's done with the team and with Shane at the helm now is, you know, it's emphasizing just what a great team they are and what they have been, even though that they are technically in a rebuild phase, they're still able to win races.
dominating.
Yeah. You know, and obviously Feeney's coming of age. He's starting to show his true self in contesting regularly in the top 5. And I think he'll be a household name amongst Triple Eight for years to come. Maybe DJR going in the same direction, you know, I'm not sure.
I mean, Dick Johnson definitely is in a different stage of his career than even Roland Dane is, like when you think about it. I mean, the thing with Roland is that everyone who's still running that team, other than the fact that I think, is it Tony Quinn who owns like the majority of it now?
Yeah.
Like everyone who is running that team are sort of like Roland Dane's adopted sons, like Whincup and what's his name? Dutto have been there since pretty much day one. And like,
I mean, well, Dad used to race. Dad raced for Dutto, and I mean, apart from probably the big household names, there has been quite a few changes in the Triple Eight camp. I mean, Matt Cook, he was their Super 2 guy. I think he was getting groomed to be one of the head engineers for Triple Eight.
He's gone to MSR.
He's at Premier Race.
Sorry, that's right. Yeah.
And there's a couple of the other guys that have left as well. Obviously, Couchy and we had Ludo Leclerc leave a few years ago. You know, a couple of, I mean, there's probably more as well that I'm not thinking of.
My boy at Walkinshaw.
Yeah, well, exactly.
McPherson.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's been probably 5 household names in Red Bull that have left over the last few years as well. So I guess maybe it's their way of rebuilding, getting some new blood in the team. Obviously, Jamie's running that with, you know, the direction of Tony Quinn. Both of these guys, mate, they just have, you know, an absolute what's the word? I'm trying to think of it. Anyway, they have just an absolute passion for motorsport and they love it. And they know they've done it for so many years, especially a guy like Jamie, who's, in my opinion, probably the best supercar driver, of all time. I think stats don't lie.
Do you think that this could be sort of Dick Johnson preparing to, like, say 10 years ago, before the whole Penske investment, like Dick was sort of swindled out of a lot of money from his team with the whole Nathan Tinkler investment, which sort of sent him up shit creek for a bit. And then,
bloody hell, how did you remember that?
Dude,
he deep dove today, all right?
No, I didn't. I was just thinking about this now.
Nathan Tinkler ruined everything he invented.
Everything he touched. The Newcastle Knights, Dick Johnson Racing.
Oh, I remember that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
The big heavyset dude, right?
Yeah, the Newcastle Jets. Everything he touched went bust. But he swindled Dick Johnson out of a lot of money with that investment. And I remember Dick Johnson selling a lot of his memorabilia, like all his old cars just to keep his team afloat. So for them to go from those hard times,
to winning championships,
to then
not long
winning
later.
championships, that's like with the help of Penske. Do you think, like at his age now, he's probably thought, I've been to the top, I've hit rock bottom, I've sort of steered the team back to success. So now to set it up just to continue that success with someone else's money and sort of hand it off to someone I trust or a group I trust would be in the back of his mind as well.
Yeah, I think probably. I mean, I don't know, obviously, what's going on behind the scenes with Dick and that, but I know that he absolutely loves motorsport. And I don't know. I feel like he'd probably still be doing it if he could, but maybe he's getting to a point where, maybe it's time to start passing the reins on to someone else. And
not good for the
maybe enjoying what he's created. So
maybe he needed to buy a really expensive plot.
Oh.
What?
Like a gravestone, he's saying.
A really expensive.
Anthony.
That's
a bad one.
Come on, F.
You know what I was going to say though? You talk about the darkest days of DJR. It brought about one of the greatest moments in supercar history.
What's that?
The Chaz Mostert original.
True. That's true.
First win at Queensland Raceway.
True that. 2013. 2000.
That cab charge. I think it was Wilson Security.
Wilson Security it was.
Yeah. Absolute bomb. Killed it.
Look at you going through the annals in your mind as well.
Yeah, I remember that because I remember he was
so true.
Junior, and I'm like, that guy can't wait.
And he got a ticket. What? How did that all happen though? Someone got injured or something, didn't they?
It could have been. I don't know if it was there Max Wilson racing for them?
Who
was it? Max Wilson. I'm not sure exactly, but he was a Super 2 driver for Tickford, and then he kind of just got loaned out for the year, right? And then
because he raced Bathurst with them as well.
Yeah, well, I think he did end up doing half the season. One at home in Queensland, and then
one on debut, didn't he?
Might have been his debut. The rest is history, but
yeah,
look at that.
I can't wait for next year. Those cars, hopefully, bring them. They're all closer together, and it'll be a three-way fight between Shane,
hopefully more than
Cam, and Chaz. Fight. No, but at least they're the three that I want to see.
I'd say probably you'd know straight away at the first race of the season whether Walkinshaw have a chance of winning it or not. If not, then you just go all in on them to win Bathurst.
They always look good at Clipsal, so you can't say that. If we're racing at Clipsal first, they'll win at Clipsal, then they'll go to Sydney Motorsport Park and come 15th.
But Sydney's a tough track. Like even I've raced at Sydney, and it is one of the hardest tracks to set your car up for. So
I don't want excuses, Tristan. I just want a championship.
Boys, I just want to give you excuses.
If they're all even, the greatest driver in Australia currently has to be the champion.
In the world.
Waters. Yeah, the greatest Australian driver.
Cam. Look, I no arguments here. I think between the top four, you got Cam, you got Shane Van Gisbergen and Chaz Mostert, and I'd probably throw Anton De Pasquale in there too. Between those four, I think
Did you hear that take a couple of weeks ago of Anthony saying that Cam Waters is the best Australian driver in the world? What did you think of it when you first heard it? Initial one, and I don't know if you know Cam, but
I do.
just like the first thing you thought of when you heard that, was it really?
I think he hasn't won enough for him to be considered maybe as one of my top.
You've said enough, Tristan.
But that's not to say that I don't think he deserves to be there. I mean, I back Cam's talent, night and day, and like I said before, between he, Chaz, Anton, and Gizzy, any one of those guys could be champions in the right car.
Australian, so we don't want to give.
Oh yeah, but we count them. We count the the Trans Tasman.
They're Scotty McLaughlin at the moment.
I know everyone claims Scotty, everyone claims Shane.
They don't have to do the same thing to us though, because all their drivers are really good.
Yeah, but we've been doing that for years, mate. We did that with Greg, with Murphy. Everyone's gone, he's a bloody Aussie. Nah, mate. Yeah, Russell Crowe. Anyone that's half talented, we'll try and claim them.
They haven't got the infrastructure to bring them.
Hey, we even tried to claim ACDC.
Are they Kiwi?
No, they're Scottish.
Scottish.
Oh, Scottish. You got me.
But we'll claim them because they went to school here.
Yeah, I like it. H.
Yo.
Yeah, you had a question that you needed an answer for.
Yeah, so last week Joe didn't because his internet dropped out, but we discussed the whole Piastri, Alpine, Ricciardo, McLaren thing. I just wanted to get Tristan and Joe's thoughts on that because we've had zero information in the past week.
What a shit fight.
Yeah.
I said this to my brother. I said, I feel like McLaren are in no position to be bringing in Piastri, hoping that he's going to fix the actual problems that team has. Like to bring in a rookie and expect him to be like the band-aid that's going to cover up DR's apparent, lack of pace, where the only, I feel like there's so many other problems with that team that they need to fix. And if don't look at it like that, because Norris is performing admirably, but the car is nowhere near where they expected it to be, and it has a lot of flaws. And Norris is getting the most out of it. But even Norris would be the first to say this car isn't near competitive enough. So maybe what I would suggest they do is keep DR. Don't waste the money that you're going to have to spend to pay him out his contract and send him somewhere else. Invest that money in actually building a fucking good car that they were preaching that was gonna be. And we were saying, they came so far last year. Seidel's the GOAT, and he's a really good team principal. But actually build a good car that one of them can at least challenge for wins for, so we know it's a good car, and then we'll see what happens. But to sort of make the excuse that the reason that the team's not doing well is Danny Rick, and then to bring in a rookie and expect him to be the savior of the team is such bullshit. And Anthony's looking at me like Danny Rick's done, and he's probably not going to be the same Danny Rick ever. But that's still not to say that the problem with that team is Danny Rick. It's like saying the problem with Manchester United is flaming Ronaldo and Ericsson, and it's not the actual team itself. It's
Sorry,
not
Joe,
in the system.
had enough of you.
Right?
Tristan, give us your opinion.
Can we
mate.
use another team, please?
Oh no. Back on track, I guess. No, I don't know. I mean, obviously I want Piastri in F1. I think he should have been in it this year. I think Alpine completely stuffed up when they didn't find a spot for him. I personally think Ocon's overrated, but whatever.
Same.
I just honestly couldn't figure out how he's still got to drive. That's
He's
neither
French,
here nor there.
in
but,
a French team.
Yeah, I guess that. But I honestly think he should have been in Alpine last year, and I think Alpine have mismanaged him and his career. And if it were me, I probably would have gone and looked for a drive, even though you probably knew you had one next year in Alpine, I would have definitely gone and looked around and done some window shopping, seeing what's out there. Obviously, McLaren aren't too happy with Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously, Daniel Ricciardo's not too happy with McLaren. I mean, it sort of makes sense to bring in Oscar Piastri. For Daniel Ricciardo's sake, I think I honestly think he should just call it a day and just maybe go off to NASCAR, or I actually did hear a rumor the other day that he could be in a supercar. So apparently he's homesick and he's missing home, and he wants to come back here and race here and maybe try and win Bathurst. So
let me throw you a question then. Do you think that, so Joseph's painted a very colourful picture about everything that's wrong with McLaren. If McLaren's purely, I'm sure that they're aware of the limitations of their car. They've said as much for, multiple months now. But even if the car isn't where they want it to be, there's an argument to be made that they're still trying to get the most out of it. And when you've got one person with 79 points and another person, I think, on 18, then that's not going to cut the mustard, particularly when they're still in the fight for fourth.
It's tough for Daniel because I sympathize with him, because I know deep down he obviously believes in his talent, as we all do. We saw what he was capable of in a Red Bull, and I think we touched on this last time we spoke as well. Like, he come into F1, obviously he was in the Toro Rosso at the time, which is now AlphaTauri, and he came in, he was in a shit car, then he got given a good car, which was the Red Bull, and he's been told, go on and win races, go on and try and win championships, which, given the right season, he probably had the opportunity to do so. And then he shops around for a bit, ends up in two shit teams in a row, which are underperforming, and the car's just useless, nowhere, not really competitive. And it's like, so what he's used to is, up here, and what he's getting is down here. Whereas Lando's come in, he doesn't have any expectations. His expectations are, I'm going to be an F1. Whatever I get, I'm going to be comfortable in. He gets a piece of shit, and he's driven it to above that.
Expectation.
Yes, exactly. So his expectations are, oh, well, that's bad. So now that he's in a, I guess, half-decent car, it's a lot better than what he's used to. So I sort of sympathize with him. And we saw this at the start of the year with Hamilton. You know, you got a guy competing for the World Championship last year to finishing 8th, you know. And it's like everyone's going, oh, Hamilton's done. George Russell's so much better because he's contesting for podiums and that. It's like, well, it's the same scenario. You know, what Lewis has been so used to for the past 8 years is being in a fantastic car. He hasn't had to get his head around anything. Now that he's not, he has to get his head around driving a bad car or a car that's not as good.
Yeah.
And so George Russell goes from a Williams to a car that's 1,000 times better than the car he was driving last year. And all of a sudden, oh, look at him, you know, he's talented. So it's one of those things. It's like, it's sort of like you're a cat chasing a mouse. You're never going to quite catch it. And for Daniel Ricciardo, I think that mouse is just bolted off in the distance, and I think it's long gone, you know.
Do you know, I think about Ricciardo's career, and if you were to take the 2 years of Fernando Alonso's career where he was in the best car, and you were to look at all the other years that he's raced in Formula One, he's made a few bad decisions for the team he's raced for and the level of competitiveness in that team. So if you take those 2 years where he had the most dominant car, I think there's some very strong trends between the majority of Alonso's career and the
I'd say
majority
3
of
years.
Ricciardo's career.
I think that year that Vettel won his last championship, I think the Ferrari was the best car. So I think 3 years.
When he took it to the last race.
Yes, I think 3 years. That Ferrari was the best car, and they lost that on strategy as they've done this year again. So
I saw
it's like a 10 years. Every 10 years, let's just stuff up their season.
I saw a meme the other day. It was picking your team for dummies. You know those dummies books, and it had a picture of Ricciardo and Alonso on the front. So
they just, you know what?
And Benito as the team director.
Yeah. You know what? Also, I'll give him some credit. But like, when in the moment, like when he did choose the teams that he went for, you've made the comparison between Norris and Russell. They're also two drivers that are at the stage of their career where
100%
they haven't been in there for long enough. Like they're still just like super
still developing.
just to be in it, and they've kind of just got that still that raw talent. Whereas if you think about Ricciardo, from Toro Rosso to Red Bull, at the time, you know, dominating against Vettel, doing everything he could in an underperforming car, and then probably by the time that he was ready to make that next step, Verstappen comes in and the tide within the team changes. So even the decision to leave there and go to Renault, none of us were really like, that was a bad decision, because for his career, that was probably the best thing for him to still have a team to be built around. And then even I think with the move from Renault to McLaren, in the moment, it seemed like a good move. I don't think there was anybody that thought, oh, this is going to be a bad move for him.
Yeah, I agree, but it's hard though. It must be so hard because there's two teams that you can go into that might be able to win a world championship. So for a guy like Daniel Ricciardo, that's all he's probably ever dreamt of, is being a world champion.
Yeah.
And the only team that he's ever probably had the best chance at, I mean, some would say Renault, but with Red Bull. And so you're in a team that they're building that car around Verstappen. I if it were me, I'm not going to play second fiddle.
No,
you know, I'm no Mark Webber, you know. And he goes to Renault. He's got a team built around him. They're promising him a world championship car, and he just doesn't see it. So
the interesting thing is this week, Pato Award came out, and they don't seem too happy that McLaren are dipping outside the McLaren program, because you've obviously got Rossi, who's coming next year. You got O'Ward, you've got Rosenquist, you've got Norris, you've got Ricciardo, and they're bringing in Piastri from Alpine to take that seat, when clearly some things have been said, as well as Herder as well, that there could be a potential F1 seat. I know I've never thought there was a realistic opportunity for it, but clearly they've been told that there has been.
Yeah, but you know,
how would you feel?
For those two drivers, particularly Herder and O'Ward, they're in IndyCar, an inferior league by all standards, regardless of how amazing the racing is, if you want to prove your point or prove the point that you're worthy of going into Formula One, you've got to win IndyCar. And neither of them have done it.
And we've seen drivers do that when they were young. We saw like Montoya do it and Villeneuve do it, and sort of be undeniable.
It was a Kiwi, Brendan Hartley, recently, 2016 or something. He jumped from, he was in the IndyCar program, then he jumped into the GT, the LMP1 program, and then got the call up for Toro Rosso. Did a season with Toro Rosso.
The reason I'm
2018 he was there.
2018, there you go.
The reason I'm most disappointed, I think I'm more disappointed in Piastri, to be honest, because I feel like the potential of Alpine, if we're seeing anything, is that car, come the end of the year, is going to beat McLaren in the Constructors' Championships and probably be a better platform to be on next year when you want sort of, if I was a rookie to be coming into a team. I mean, the team is called Alpine, but Renault is a much bigger company than McLaren will really ever be in terms of like the money behind it.
Do you think that Piastri got blindsided though? Like what I think is what happened is that there might have been rumors that Alonso was getting either a contract extension or he's signing, and that would have been going around the F1 circuit. Alonso's getting a new deal.
I do and I don't.
They wouldn't have been telling anybody who was getting that deal or where he was going to end up. So all of a sudden Vettel retires. No one's considering the swap from Alonso to Aston Martin. All Piastri's thinking is that maybe Alonso's just going to re-sign for Alpine. And so for him to go out and window shop and go, well, I'm not going to be on the grid next year in Alpine. They've promised me, but there's still no seat available. Why not go have a look around? There's rumors that McLaren want to get rid of Daniel Ricciardo. I'm sure a lot of people were probably tipping for that Aston Martin seat, so on. And McLaren are gone, well, yeah, we want this kid. We can't miss out on him because he's a generational talent. Well, could be, we don't know.
The Ricciardo rumors have been going around for a lot longer than the very.
Well, they started last year.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, the Alpine one sort of, I think we all thought
Vettel came out of nowhere, so that happened.
Vettel came out of nowhere, but I feel like we all thought he was going to go to Williams, and then all of a sudden, out of the woodwork, it sounded like Logan Sargent, because he's part of the Williams Academy, he's going to be racing for Williams next year. And I heard that, and I thought, you know what? He's American. They probably want an American driver on the grid, not the ones we were talking about, but it makes a bit of sense. He's actually coming into a relatively good vein of form. Nothing that I'd say deserves an F1 seat, but he's from the academy, so maybe they want to promote from within. I can understand that. So then that seat sort of drops off.
Yeah.
But like, I can't see Alpine not wanting to put their own world champion, who they have brought through the ranks, like really, like put that in their team. And they were saying he was going to be on the grid next year. So yeah, I understand getting the cold feet and stuff, but now is it a bridge gone too far that he's not going to go back there?
I got a bold accusation. So there's two drives that Mick Schumacher ends up in.
Schumacher?
Either the Alpine, or he goes to Toro Rosso or AlphaTauri, and Pierre Gasly goes to Alpine.
I think only Danny Rick's going to Alpine if he loses his McLaren seat.
Yeah.
Well, who's to say Ocon's going to stay? I mean, I know he's got a contract till 2024, but
I can't see them getting rid of a French driver.
What's he done?
He hasn't been, he's won a race.
Under safety car. Come on.
Daniel Ricciardo won a race.
No, don't you start that for me.
But Daniel Ricciardo won that race on merit. He didn't win it.
Daniel Ricciardo won based on skill,
but we're still having that conversation about him.
Ocon's a relative. I think Ocon's a much better driver than like a lot of the drivers on the grid. Like he's better than Tsunoda. He's better than.
Well, I only say that because I think Mick Schumacher we all kind of assumed that he was going to Ferrari pathway.
Yeah.
Now I don't think that's the case. It's either Mercedes or it's Red Bull. Let's say Perez goes till end of next year, right? Let's just say that 2024 there's a Red Bull seat available.
But they got drivers to promote from
That'd be
within as well.
Pierre.
That's the thing.
But you put
Mm.
Mick Schumacher into AlphaTauri this year. Well, sorry, next year for the 2023 season. He has to prove himself against maybe a seasoned veteran like Yuki Tsunoda, unless they keep Pierre Gasly. I don't know. He has to prove himself against one of those two. And then he gets the promotion to Red Bull.
I would agree with you, but I did see Helmut Marko came out last week and said, we're not letting Pierre go anywhere because he's our only option if something happens to Perez or Verstappen.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So they love Gasly. I don't see why they wouldn't. I love Gasly. If it were me and I were Gasly, I'd be going Alpine though. Like you say, French driver, French team, fuck Ocon off, you know. Put an actually good French driver in there.
I'm glad someone sees it because
I've wanted Gasly at McLaren for a year now.
Gasly McLaren would be pretty cool.
McLaren can't afford any more fucking drivers.
They've made enough mistakes. Right? Let's leave McLaren out of the conversation.
McLaren have promised like 10 drivers, a total of 7 seats next year. They got enough. They got a driver for every Grand Prix next year.
You know what the beautiful thing is, boys? Silly season will be wrapped up in a month or so's time, and we'll have a lot more clarity about what's happening in Formula One, and then that will give us a lot more clarity about these hypotheses moving into the near future of Formula One as well. So,
but
not too long to wait.
What if they all come out and announce their teams, and then we get what happened with Piastri, and he comes out and says, "Oh yeah, I'm not racing for you guys."
Then we've got more.
What happens if that happens again? Like, I can't deal with that much drama. That's more drama than a season of the Kardashians.
I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I say it again. How come McLaren are the only team who seems to be able to think they can get drivers out of contracts that seem to exist? Do they not have lawyers? They're the only team who's done it now in 2 different sports. So I want to see how this pans out. But if say Piastri's racing for Alpine next year, and Paolo's racing for Ganassi in IndyCar next year, how dumb is McLaren as an organization going to look?
Yeah,
well, is that when they just go straight up and fire Zach Brown, or
no? I don't think it's a Zach Brown thing. I just
don't think it has to stem from the top.
It might be.
You don't make calls with that much money.
I just worked it out. Next year, Walkinshaw's running 4 cars, and 1 car with Piastri, 1 car with Paolo, just to keep.
I thought you were talking about the supercar team, and I wouldn't hold your breath on that. I honestly, I seriously think it's the potential that Ricciardo's in a supercar next year in a Walkinshaw car. I don't know. I've heard rumors.
Really?
I like that.
I've heard rumors. Like I said, people talk in motorsport, but that does not mean it's true. I guarantee you, if Daniel Ricciardo gets offered an F1 seat, he's taking it.
There's so 100%. Much credence to that statement. I think we've got to finish there. Like, that's got to be the big exclamation mark to end.
Yeah, but it didn't come from me.
It did. It came from you. It's going on the socials.
I'm going to make that the title of this.
Yeah, that's it, mate. We'll get some clickbait from that.
Daniel Ricciardo to V8
supercars. Yep.
Ricciardo to Walkinshaw.
I like it.
Boom.
All right, boys. That was a good chat.
All right, boys. No worries. Thanks for having me on.
Mate,
thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much,
buddy. So much fun.
Nah, that's all good. I love talking motorsport with you boys anytime.
Legends. Harry, Joseph, as always, thanks for jumping on. Everybody else, thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, share.
Join the Discord.
Yeah, join the Discord.
We're trying to have some Discord.
Keep sending through those messages so that Harry doesn't have to keep making fake accounts. And we very much appreciate all the support that we have been getting. So thanks, boys. Have a great night, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, mate.